I want to tell you a story, and this is going to encourage you. Now, this is a long time ago, April 1815. There was one of the worst ever volcanoes known to man on Mount Tambora, which was in and is in Indonesia. Well, it was one of the largest ever recorded, and a vast plume of dust and smoke and ash spread from Indonesia northwards across the world. It blocked out the sun in large parts of the then identified industrial world and caused huge changes in global temperatures. And in China, the cold weather killed off the trees, the crops, and water buffalo. And in North America, there was a dry fog which reddened the sun, and there was a summer snowfall in New York, where it never, of course, snowfalls in New York in summer. Riots and looting broke out across the world, all over Europe, and harvests failed. And there was a very difficult problem of soaring food prices, tens of thousands of people dying from famine and disease, and horses, which were the only means of transport, were starved or had to be slaughtered and used as food, because the high price of oats or feeding horses inhibited people from spending on them. Then the question arose, how do we get around? Well, it was that last predicament that led a German called Karl von Drais to devise what he called a personal transport machine to replace the horse, a two-wheeled wooden structure in which you sat on the top frame, the wheels were attached by wood, and you simply pushed it along with your legs on either side of the frame. This was the first ever bicycle. And it's a fascinating thought that when you look across the world now and you see people cycling, biking, moving on single-wheeled, two-wheeled, multi-wheeled, that way back then, this was an innovation that came out of a crisis. But the entrepreneur is the person who spots the serendipitous moment. That's a long word, I know, and not many of you may use it very frequently, and I certainly don't. But it is a good word to look up. The serendipitous moment, which says, out of the set of circumstances presented before me, what is the gap for innovation that sits here? How can I identify and therefore innovate and find the resourcing necessary to move from basics into possibilities, into prospects, and then into profit? How do I make those things happen? Now, there are two further keys that are important to take the entrepreneur from the innovation into the profitable base for development. Key number one, get ready for the long haul. Very few innovations and entrepreneurial commitments really flourish in year one or year two. Maybe beginning to show some prospect in year three. They don't get shining until year 5. Get ready for the long haul. Track the experience of well-known international entrepreneurs. The pattern is the same. What's it about? It is risky to introduce new products into a market. But of course, that is the basis on which genuine economic growth is built. Number 2, therefore, because of the long delay and the process of continuation, you better have the resources saved to sustain you without causing you to flounder after year 1 or 2. So don't begin until you've worked and saved so you can secure your basic living. Then begin with pushing the idea from basics to implementation. Then you don't become a strain on others, but you take the pattern of growth that is standard for entrepreneurial investment.